So I like to use fear in two different ways. The first is the rocking chair test. It's, will I regret this when I'm on my deathbed, when I'm 80, 90, 100, 250 years old, however long we're living at that point in the future, will I regret this? And that was something that I learned when I was 18, 19 years old, and it's been one of the most powerful lessons that has had an impact on me. That I had this moment in my life, I've talked about Paris and the girl story that I had before, and from there I decided I don't want to live with regret. Like, I could deal with short-term pain, but I can't deal with not knowing. And that led me to join the startup company, and ever since, if I come across a situation and I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna regret it, like I wanna say yes, but I'm really afraid because of whatever short-term impact there might be, I just make the longer-term fear bigger than the short-term fear. So I'm more afraid to miss out on a lifetime of opportunity versus the short-term fear of it not working out. And if you can catch yourself when you feel those moments of, I'm just finding practical reasons why I shouldn't do this, but really it's just fear, I find that that really helps me thinking about the long term. And whenever I have a major decision that I'm unsure about, I imagine my life on my deathbed, rocking chair test, looking back, am I going to regret this? And if it's yes, if I'm going to regret not taking action, then I know I have to take action, however scary that may be short term. The second thing that I use fear for is building the muscle, my muscle building test. And that's where I want to get used to being uncomfortable. I want to get used to, if I'm afraid of something, not just always shrinking down. And the hardest part, I think, for most people is to catch it. Because again, we come up with these rational reasons for why we shouldn't do something, where really it's just that fear speaking out. So understanding the why behind the why, really, really important. And the more you say yes to those things, the more you stretch your comfort zone, just for the fact that you were afraid of doing it, the more that muscle is going to build. And I've shared a number of different examples in different videos of me, dancing on the street and being afraid of what people would say about me, or me trying to do snowboard jumps and being afraid of what people would say or look at me, or even here, walking, making a video. This is not a green screen. Somebody commented before, what green screen are you on? I'm not on a green screen. This is the actual business that I own, Toronto Dance Salsa. That's the natural window. There's real people walking behind. And at the start, that can be intimidating, right? That people are walking behind. Sometimes people look in and see what's happening, and I have to worry, are they judging me? But the fact that I'm afraid of that means that I have to go out and do it, just to see it, just to get rid of that fear. And then what that does is expands my comfort zone, so that the next time I do it, it's not as scary, and the next time it's not as scary, and the next time you lose the fear. So I'm not afraid to come here now and speak with people walking by. But if you constantly allow fear to beat you, then even the smallest things you're going to shrink down from. And when you have opportunities that can serve your higher purpose, that can make a great life for yourself, you're not going to do them because you're too afraid, because you just live in this tiny little bubble. So if you can continue to expand, the great things happen at the edge of your comfort zone. So if you can continue to expand your comfort zone, more and more and more great things are going to happen to you. And so just recognizing it, whenever you can catch that fear, it can make a big difference if you decide to say yes, to step into the fear, to lean in on it, and just do it even though you are afraid.
You rarely regret the things that you do. It's what you don't do that you regret the most. It's all the missed opportunities, the times you wanted to say yes but were afraid, the moments that you wanted to bet on yourself but you were scared. Those moments, that's what you want to minimize, because it's way better to know and to fail than to never know at all. So I look at my tour as an example. I started 2019 with a tour across 23 cities, 90 days, and it was a big adventure in not regretting my life. It started off as supposed to be a free tour out of coffee shops, and my agent pushed me and said, Evan, this is playing small. My agent, Steve in New York, said, Evan, you're playing small. This is small. This is small time, man. Doing these little free things at coffee shops is small time compared to what you're capable of. You need to charge for the event. You need to book hotel rooms. You need to charge for the event. You need to get people to come out. And the thought just of doing that was already making me scared, because I'm afraid of disappointing people. When it's free, there's no risk, right? I can't disappoint anybody. It's free. But when they're paying to come out, I need to make sure that I deliver. I also thought, maybe what if nobody shows up? Right? What if one person shows up? That's going to be a massive disappointment. And so I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it. But the thing that got me through was regret. I don't want to look back. I don't want to be 90 and look back and say, I should have done it. I was afraid to bet on myself. I would rather know and fail than not know. And so I did it. Took some convincing, took some time to digest it and eat it, but I said, I'm gonna do it, we'll do it. Then as I started on the tour, the first ones were scary, I was nervous, but then we developed a pattern, a rhythm. Every 4 days I was doing it and got it, and then it became easy. And so I needed to take another step. My next step was, I had an idea. I wanna do Q&A. My favorite part of doing workshops and meeting people is Q&A, because I don't wanna just get up and speak. I wanna help. I wanna give you practical, tactical advice that can help you in your current situation. I don't wanna just get up in front of a room and say the same thing that I would say every time. And so I was even a little slow in starting this because I had this idea for 2 or 3 cities that I want to start doing it. And I would slowly experiment. And then I was on an Instagram live and somebody in Sacramento, which was maybe 4 stops ahead of where I was, said, hey, do it in Sacramento. Bring it to Sacramento. Be the first in Sacramento. And that one little piece of validation said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it in Sacramento. But then it bothered me that I had to wait for validation to then go off and do it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it in LA, which was my next stop. And so we had 100 people in LA in a hotel room. And I went pure Q&A. And it became the best. It was my favorite stop on the tour at that point. We had the best interaction, the most high fives, the biggest energy. Not everybody liked it. Some people came to LA as a second stop. They came somewhere else on the tour and then they came to LA and they said, I didn't like it as much. And others who came as a second stop said, this is the best format ever, right? You're not gonna please everybody all the time. But I loved it more. I had more energy, and then I brought it to the rest of my tour. But I still was slow. I was thinking about it 2-3 stops prior, and I didn't do it. I didn't have the courage to bet on myself. I was afraid that it wouldn't work out. And so every time I try to catch it a little bit sooner. Then it got easy doing Q&A, and then I broke my neck in Denver. With a month left on the tour, I broke my neck in Denver and had a concussion and compressed my spine and staples in my head and all this stuff, and thought, you know what, I'm gonna keep going. This is now my new chance, because if I don't keep going, I'm gonna regret it. Other people would let me off the hook. Everybody around me saying, go home. My agent thought I was crazy. Go home, take care of yourself. And everybody would have let me off the hook. But I couldn't let myself off the hook. I had to at least see. I'd rather know and fail than not know. I'd rather try to do the next stops. And if it didn't work out, if I couldn't speak because I had a concussion or I was in too much pain to keep going, then I would pull back, but I would know. I would know. And the next stop was in Kansas City, and my wife had to pull me off after an hour and a half because I was done. Like physically, mentally, I was done. She had to yank me out and say, guys, it's over. And then I got up for the next one and I did the full 3.5 hours and I kept going. And I was proud of my effort, you know, and I look back like, yes, I'm proud, because if I stopped and I went home, I would have regretted it my whole life. And so this tour became this massive life-changing moment for me, in that first I was afraid to do it because I was afraid to charge, and then I was afraid to go and do pure Q&A, and then I was afraid to keep going because I injured myself and thought I wouldn't be able to provide value. And every chance along the way, stepping up and saying, I'm going to do it. And that's where you get the growth. Whatever the thing is in your life that you're afraid of potentially regretting, you have to go do that thing, otherwise you will regret it. So how do you do it? How do you stop living with regrets? I'm gonna give you a 3-step process that I think will help. Step number 1 is take the rocking chair test. The rocking chair test is, imagine yourself at 90, 95, 100, however long you're gonna live. You're at the end of your life. You're in a rocking chair. It's over. It's done. You can barely remember things. You have dementia. Your body's frail. It's over. You're back, rocking away, sitting on the porch. Your life's about to be over. What are you gonna regret? What are you gonna regret that you didn't do? You didn't go do that tour. You didn't make that phone call. You didn't ask that person out. You didn't make that book deal happen. You didn't make that first video. You didn't do it. You stopped. You were afraid. Because when you're at the end of the life, it's all gonna seem trivial. The fears, like, what were you so afraid of? You're afraid of your mom's opinion? You're afraid of some hater on YouTube giving you a negative comment? You're afraid that the book doesn't sell? What are you so afraid of? When you're at the end of your life, those fears are gone. But the regret stays for decades. So what is that thing that you might regret not doing? And then use that pain to push you into action. Take the rocking chair test. Step number 2 is hangnail versus punch. And so when you have a hangnail, it hurts. I kind of have a little hangnail right here. It hurts. You know, if you pick at it, it hurts. It hurts. But then if somebody punches you in the arm, much that hurt. You don't feel this pain anymore because this hurts so much, right? If you've had that happen, you have a little pain and it bothers you, it's the end of the world, you got something stuck in your teeth, it bothers you, you can't get it out. But then if somebody punches you in the arm, you don't feel the thing in your tooth, you don't feel the hangnail anymore because this thing hurts even more. And so that's how I like to use regret. And you might think that's a little evil or masochistic, but it works. Because the thing that you're afraid of doing is real pain. I don't think you can be unafraid. I think if you're just saying be fearless, then you're only doing things that are in your comfort zone. It's easy to be fearless at things that you're good at, you know how to do. You can be fearless in brushing your teeth. You're not afraid of that because you've done it so many times. But the first time you tried to brush your teeth or the first time you tried to tie your shoes, you were a little afraid that it wouldn't work out, that you'd make a mistake, right? What's the process? Now it's easy for you. Being fearless means you're in your comfort zone forever. I think the fear is real. So how do you get through it? You give yourself a bigger fear, a bigger pain, which is decades of regret, and bring it back to today. That forces you to take action because the future pain is now bigger than the current pain. And third, understand that your fear is not a failure. People aren't afraid of failure. You're afraid of failing in front of other people. You will sing in the shower, but you won't sing on the street corner. Why? Because you're afraid of judgment. You're afraid of how people will see you. You're afraid of what they're gonna say, especially if you suck at the beginning of your journey and you don't know what you're doing. And so understand that the biggest reason why you're not taking action is you're afraid of what other people are gonna think and judge of what you're doing. And just that little bit of awareness, just recognizing that I'm not actually afraid of failing, I'm afraid of failing in front of who? Who is that person? Is it your parents? Is it your spouse? Is it your boyfriend, girlfriend? Is it your kids? Is it your best friends? Is it anonymous people on the internet? Like, who are you actually afraid of? And if you can step it back and say, I'm only afraid of doing this because of how my parents are gonna see me or how my spouse is gonna see me or some anonymous troll on the internet, that's what I'm really afraid of. It can ease the burden because you're sitting there thinking, I'm afraid of failing, but you're actually not. You're just afraid of failing in front of that person. And so imagine who that person is, and then imagine failing in whatever the worst case scenario is. It's not that bad. It can give you the strength, confidence, courage to go and take action. If you want to see me coaching somebody through beating their fear, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
If you're afraid of it, if it requires bravery, then you have to do it.
And it's okay to entertain and teach at the same time.
That's the best.